Welcome everybody to our community wellness series. I'm Lucia Carinante. So I think today is week 5 and we have talked about sleep. We've talked about the importance of protein. We've talked about processed food and reducing it. Today we're going to talk about movement, simple movement. So when I talk about movement, I'm not speaking about extreme workouts or going to the gym or pushing yourself to your limits. I'm just talking about simply moving. In today's world, we tend to sit more than we should be. It seems that modern life has quietly removed movement from our day with the birth of social media, I would say. Then COVID sort of had people working from home, and that stuck. For a lot of companies, that stuck. So you're not getting up, going to the bus stop, walking around the office, going out for lunch. People are sitting behind their desks for way more extended periods than necessary. So I would like to discuss the importance of just simple movement, and even sort of getting 10 to 15 minutes can create some momentum. So some of us are really, it's really challenging to get out and go. And I know that from some people that I know that are at desk jobs. But it is a really powerful and accessible habit to incorporate into your day, because something as simple as just a walk is very transformative, a morning walk. So again, I hear a lot of people, not complain, but sort of, I don't have time, I have the kids, I have work, I have chores, I have errands, and then movement and exercise are sort of the first things to go because everything else becomes overwhelming. I was recently talking to one of my clients who just had a baby, and she said she doesn't have time to eat. I really don't understand. Maybe I'm being judgmental. How could you not have time to eat? So if we don't take care of ourselves, somebody like that who had a baby, how can she have the energy to take care of her baby? So moving, eating healthy, all of that, all kind of is combined in this wellness series. So I wanted to, before I go into it, I just wanted to give some sort of tips that you can do to help yourself if it's challenging. One of the things is you can create a walking club, just like we have book clubs, or you meet your friends once a week for drinks. You can also create a walking club, like a book club. So every Wednesday morning or every Wednesday evening, this is the time we're all gonna meet to walk. So that can give you some momentum. Inviting, your neighbors to join along is really fun, because sometimes people are stuck in the house and don't have that support, that social support. It helps boost motivation and it keeps you consistent with this. Also, I think tracking your progress can be really helpful, because it gives you sort of a tool to look at, where was I and where am I? And that helps keep you motivated. A step counter or a simple tracker. Most people have the iWatch, or I think that's what it's called, the Apple Watch, or any of those things. Also, just the social aspect of that boosts your motivation, so that's always important. Additionally, I might have talked about it in one of my other talks, is the morning sunlight. So I always say, like, if you can get up and go right away for your walk, because we want to aim for those 10,000 steps, around that. You don't have to be so precise. But the sunlight is really critical for regulating that sleep-wake cycle. And we talked about that in our sleep session. So exposure to that early light is really very important for stimulating the melatonin production. Okay, so let's go into my first section here, which is, let's see. So sorry, I got confused. The average American sits for 9 to 11 hours a day. Think about that, 9 to 11 hours a day. And our bodies were just never designed for this. Human physiology, do you want me to pause for a second? No? Because that noise. Human physiology evolved for frequent movement throughout the day, such as walking, lifting, reaching, carrying, and climbing. So just thinking about, our ancestors, everybody was moving, right? So this isn't just about fitness. This is sort of, think of it like it's called physical activity, things you do during the day. So chores, it could be cleaning, could be instead of taking the car, if you have a short walk, it could be taking the stairs instead of the elevator or escalator. All of the things involved with like walking upstairs, carrying things, reaching for things, lifting. This is a full body sort of movement. And what the important thing to know about it is simple movement like this, not our traditional exercise, go to the gym, get your weights in, get your cardio. This simple movement, it regulates your blood sugar, your metabolism, your brain health, your mood, hormones, inflammation, and also longevity. One thing I like to say about this in this right here, because anxiety seems like it's all over now. We think about that in terms of the younger generation. Everybody has anxiety. I'm anxious about this. I'm sure there's real anxiety, absolutely. But I think that the more stagnant and the less active you are, the more anxious you get. So one thing to do is when you feel anxiety, get out, go for a walk, get in nature, touch a tree, listen to the birds. All of that, nature connects with our rhythm of our body and helps anxiety. So that's one thing, just right there. It's like movement is medicine and it's free. So in many ways, that affects the entire body. What I would like to say is when we stop moving, our bodies become used to that. It's almost like, it's like a challenge then to get up and go for a walk. I have to do this today. But if you make this a daily habit and a change in your life, and you get up every morning and you say, okay, at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., whatever your time is, this is what I'm going to do. You are starting to sort of train your brain and the neural pathways to say, this is what I do every day, versus getting your coffee, watching the news or whatever, turning on the computer, looking at whatever you look at. All right, so I said initially that our bodies were designed to move. And for most of human history, movement was unavoidable. So people needed to walk miles a day just to survive. They had to carry food and lift things and climb and work with their bodies. Their bodies, they were one with nature. They were one with their survival. So it was simply part of life. And in the last 100 years, I believe technology is one of the reasons why it's removed our ability for natural movement. I mean, we still can do it. It's just not as important because we can order things via stores that deliver. We don't have to get up and go get our food. We can even have our food delivered. So I would say, now with in the last 100 years with cars and, as I said, elevators and desk jobs, our bodies haven't really evolved to match that change. So it's really important for you to understand that this is crucial to our longevity. And as I said, the 9 to 11 hours a day of sitting is kind of crazy if you ask me. Just my point of view. Okay, so what happens when we stop moving? Your metabolism slows. So Not in the way that you think, like where people think, oh I got older, my metabolism slowed down. That's really not what happens. What happens is you lose muscle, and muscle regulates the metabolism, the energy you use. So when movement decreases, several systems decline. Less movement means that the metabolism functions differently, less effectively, let's call it. Blood sugar, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So muscle helps remove glucose from the bloodstream. Movement improves insulin sensitivity. If you remember, we talked about insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. And when we move, we have more insulin sensitivity. So just that, like, let's say you're working at a desk all day and you can't get up. I would say I would set my alarm for maybe every hour. And what I would do is I would just get up every hour and I would walk around for 10 minutes. This can ensure that you're not getting stiff, your muscles aren't getting, tight. It's really very important not to sit for 9 to 11 hours a day. Really not good. Inactivity also increases the risk of diabetes, which lines up with the insulin resistance. So again, just some information. This is more about education. Your circulatory system, the circulation will decline. And so movement acts as a pump for your circulatory system. If you ever notice, sometimes if you're sitting a long time, your hands will get cold or your feet will get cold. So you have to get up so you get that blood circulating. Really very, very important. It also is associated with cardiovascular risk and higher chances of heart issues. I think most people know that, but it's important to mention. When we think about, blood flow and our heart pumping, it's about life, right? Blood and your heart, it's all life. So if you think about movement, you can kind of in your brain say, oh, I better get up. I know this sounds like, the ABCs, but for some people, it's really important to understand, like, I better get up so my blood starts to circulate, so my heart pumps efficiently, so I'm healthy. Additionally, we did talk about the muscle loss in the sarcopenia in our 30s. So that's another factor that we have to really be careful about, because lack of movement decreases muscle mass. So obviously we need resistance training to build muscle, but without it and without movement, it will speed that loss up. So you still have to lift weights. It's not, that's not something you can push out the door and just walk, because like I said, this is physical activity, and physical activity is just as important as weight training. Okay, so some of the consequences associated with sitting for too long or being sedentary can result in weakness. So your muscles, so let me just say this, even if you're lifting weights, like let's say you do a 5-day-a-week weightlifting class, or you do it on your own and it's an hour a day, that's great. But if you sit for 6 hours of that day, or 7 or 5, it's sort of not enough just to do that class. You have to remember, you have to keep the body moving throughout the day. So weakness will occur. So you might notice as you walk up the steps, you're a little more tired, or your legs feel weak, things like that. Also risk of injury, because you start to create imbalances when you're sitting too long. You're tightening the psoas muscle, which is connected to your spine. Those are hip flexors. Your legs just become tired and weaker. Your back, your pelvis can be thrown off if you're sitting in a soft couch. Even if you're at a computer, you're sort of hunched over, so now you have those rounded shoulders, and you can become, have like a hunchback. So these are things that are associated with injury, because you're weakening the muscles just because you're sitting in these positions for too long. So again, and later in life, it feels like you might become frail, and we definitely don't want that. Another really, really interesting fact that I think everybody should understand, it does create some brain health declines because of the circulatory factor that I talked about, that not just pumping blood to your heart, it also pumps it to your brain. So it supports chemicals that improve your mood, your focus, and your memory. And as I said, it lowers your anxiety, it lowers your depression, it lowers cognitive decline. Especially, again, I like to always infuse in with the younger, the kids today, or kids on video games, that repetitive exercise, I guess, of video games and just sitting and looking and sitting and looking. We know that it does something to kids' brains, and it's really not good. So you really want to encourage the younger family members that you might have babies now, or adolescents, or school age, to be playing outside, which is something that hasn't been going on in the last, I don't know, 20 years maybe. I mean, when I was a kid, we spent the whole day outside. So again, thinking about regular movement as a way to combat depression and anxiety versus medication. Of course, if you need medication, that's a different story, but we have this free thing we can do, which is move, which can help our brain and our hormones. So we tend to look for solutions outside of ourselves. So I want that to be sort of the focus here. This is about using your body, using the God-given things that we have to do something to feel good. There's a lot of depression and anxiety in the world today. So I'm going to talk about some types of movement the body needs. Most people think that exercise means cardio or strength training, like I said, but the body benefits from different types, such as we said, the daily movement, which is probably the most important category. So gardening is a really great thing because you're touching dirt, your hands are in the dirt, you're touching plants. Gardening really increases the hormones that make us feel good. It keeps us connected to nature. And you move and you squat. You have to get down low to the ground, so you're using your leg muscles. You're up and down, you're lifting, you're moving, you're twisting, you're turning. So gardening is a great way to get that daily movement. And now that the weather is beautiful, especially today, we may want to start doing that. Walking, just like I said, start a club. Doing your errands, if we can walk to do our errands. Maybe park the car if you have to go downtown. Park the car far away and go to different places that you might need to go to, whether it's the post office or pick up some groceries, or in between work, you might have to do a few things. You can park a little further away, a little extra time, and then walk. That's really important. So small amounts through the day is really what's important too, because I understand, like, we are tied sometimes to our computer, to an office, to a boss, but you can just get up and walk around. So adding up all the movements throughout the day is important. You don't have to get overwhelmed with, oh, I need to get the hour in, or just try to move more than sit. Now, we talked about strength and the resistance aspect of, lifting weights and getting our muscles strong. And that's very important because it builds stronger bones, improves your metabolism, the balance, the risk of falling. And in line with that, which I didn't talk about yet, is mobility and flexibility, because that protects the joint health and range of motion. So when you sit long, your joints start to hurt. Your flexibility becomes, you become inflexible. So you want to be able to, when you do your daily movements, you want to do some stretching, you want to do some lifting, you want to do all of that in conjunction with the walking. But you want to remember the most important thing is when you're not doing it, what's happening to your body. Some of us might feel this if, say, you're sitting for a long period and then get up and then your knees are a little cranky or your hips are a little cranky. That can be from long periods of sitting. You need to get up in between the sitting and stretch and do all that. Okay, let's see, where are we? Light activity throughout the day. We want to keep that going. Mobility. Okay, so in terms of higher intensity, I'm going to add this in because I think it is important, because we do need to do things that work our heart to its capacity, to the your high range of where you are at your age. There's all different, numbers for different ages, which you can figure that out, your target heart rate. But jogging, cycling, running, swimming, sport, any kind of sport, all of that can be put into the category of physical activity when it's done sort of in a moderate, intense way. So you can, if you're doing something on a regular basis that involves this, we can add that into our physical activity. However, we can't then, like I said, go sit for the X amount of hours of the day. So this is great, and it's good because it gives the body that extra pump that it needs specifically for our heart health, cardio. But it's really important to note that you still need the regular movement, and whatever that can be. It could be a short walk, or, as I said, gardening, just moving around the house. If you're stuck at home, moving around the office. So how much do we need is really important. So there are some general public health recommendations of 150 minutes per week of moderate activity, which breaks down to about 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And then they want some strength. But I still don't think that's enough based on the way we have changed in a society with sitting. I think it probably was enough when we were more apt to walk places, but we're not anymore. And like I said in the beginning, working from home and having these delivery services and everything that we need is really at our fingertips. So it keeps us stuck. So I know that this is what the CDC recommends, the 150, but I think you should really think about more than that. And as a general rule, just sort of going about your day, thinking about how much can I move today. Of course, we have work to do, but you can still get up and move. It's very important. So when research suggests something very simple, which is some stretching and some mobility routines that you sort of can look up online. There's some just simple things to do to mobilize the body. So if you're sitting, you might do some side stretches or roll your shoulders or do some extensions for your spine or flexion. So, just things like this, even if you can't get up for that time that I suggest, try to do some things that keep your body moving and mobile. You'll just improve your posture and you'll feel less stiff. The heart rate raises more significantly too, which is good when we do the cycling and the jogging and all that. As I said, it improves your cardiovascular. So let's see. So some simple ways we were just talking about is to add up throughout the day. Here's one thing that I love is taking walks after your meals, because we talked about that last couple of weeks ago about blood sugar. So if you could just simply go for a 15-minute walk after you eat, you're adding up 3 bouts of 15 minutes right there if you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so to speak. I think that when you understand the blood sugar component, it's like you're getting two things for the price of one. You're getting some movement and you're slowing down the spike in your body that blood sugar rises and crashes if you walk after a meal. The other thing is, one, if you're somebody that works and you're on the phone all the time, you could stand up. You can walk around while you're talking. You could try to take your laptop with you. As long as you're sort of getting some kind of, activity, it's better than just sitting and looking and typing and talking. It'll just help. It'll add up. Some people have told me they started doing walking meetings. So let's say you have a meeting at work. Maybe you could suggest, if it's that type of office or environment, I don't know, but walking to do the meeting. It could be fun, depending on the kind of work you do, but it's a suggestion to try to sort of motivate other people, which I find to be empowering for yourself and for some people that might not think about it, or maybe they don't even understand the benefits of it. So that could be a fun thing to do. Also, if you're older, playing outside with your children or your grandchildren, rather than just let them go to the park. Maybe you get up, you're at the park, and you sort of throw the ball around, or whatever the kids are doing. It's a really important thing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be consistent. I don't think that it's simply about perfection. Some people get all caught up with, you have to do this all the time and be perfect about it. You just have to start to change your habits a little bit at a time until they become the new habit. And movement is one of the crucial things that I think we forget, and we sit too long. Something to think about. They say now that being sedentary is like the new smoking. Because you're sitting for so long, your body is effectively at this rest state. So they're saying now that almost affects your longevity as smoking did when people got illnesses due to smoking. These daily habits can be repeated, over time to create and transform long-term effects. As I mentioned, your mood, your bone health, your muscle health, your metabolism, all of that is really, it's just common sense, in my opinion. Emotional well-being. So I wanted to ask if anybody here finds it, I think we only have one person here, finds it difficult to get movement in throughout the day. Denise, do you want to interject? Are you there? Let's see.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, honey. How do you feel about this? Did any of this information help you? And do you have any questions? And do you have any difficulty with sitting around for too long of a period?
I do sit around for too long of a period, honestly, because I love movies. I'm an avid TV watcher, and since I retired, I really am, catching up on my reading and watching a lot more movies than I used to be able to do.
Okay.
But this is just a good reminder. I mean, we all know we need to be moving around, and it's a good reminder from you to make you realize just how much sitting I am doing. I do still clean my own home, so at least
That's good.
I try to get a walk in every day. I don't do any delivery services at all, so at least whenever I need something, I need to
get up and go.
Get it.
I think that's due to our age. I think kids younger, like our kids' ages, a lot of them do the delivery services because they're both working and they have kids. So that's part of, not getting out, not getting those extra steps in that you might for an hour. But let me ask you, how do you feel mentally after your walk or your workout, or just, going to lunch with your friends and walking around town or something like that, mentally?
Well, it does. I mean, that definitely helps when I feel, like I'm getting a little cranky when I'm in the house. Like this winter was a little rough because of all the snow and the cold.
Right.
And there were days where I really was, I was in a crabby mood. I was just feeling a little down like everyone else.
Right. And that's why I say the anxiety or the depression, it might be hard. Even on the cold days, like I was walking when it was like 10 degrees, and one of my neighbors is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I have to get out. I have to walk." I bundled up and I go. Because because then tomorrow, like I always thought of it like this: what if I can't tomorrow? What if I get sick? What if something happens or I sprain my, whatever it is? So you have to, every day you just have to do it if you can do it. The small changes make movement easier in your life anyway. And you know that from working out, you feel stronger. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
You
And
know?
it's, you try to just make these things become a habit.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't work out as much as I did, say, 10 years ago, where I was doing it consistently 5 days a week.
But you have, yeah, but you have to. You know you have to.
Yeah.
Not to judge you, but we talk about that. It's important because as we get older, but you can you walk, I know you walk a lot. So every time you do a walk, you probably feel a little bit better, or it becomes a little bit easier, or you get an extra, X amount of miles in, and it'll improve your blood sugar too, which is important. You there?
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
you
I'm
got
here.
it? I just wanted to say, yeah. Do you have any questions?
No, not
No?
really. I think probably hit on a lot of the things I wanted, about movement.
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing to note is it's free and it's underrated, and it's like,
I think that's what people forget. Everybody's so focused on formal working out.
yes.
Formal exercise instead of just get up, move, do something.
Yes, exactly. And we do need the strength, resistance, mobility, stability, core, all that, but we definitely have to move more. And in our society, as I said, technology has taken over our lives in a sense where we're so accustomed to just sitting more, looking at the computer, working at the computer. So I wanted to just sort of tell people. I was thinking about starting a walking club in town, and this series was about the community and to get more people involved. So I talked to a couple of the girls that and so hopefully maybe I'll start that once the weather gets just a little bit better, because like I said, a lot of people they shy away from it in the winter. But it could be something that we do, like even a twice a week thing. Everyone meets at the school and we all walk for an hour, And it
I
might.
think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I thought about that last year, and I asked a bunch of people and they said they'd be interested. So I think, in moving forward, this is what we're trying to incorporate in our community to bring health, wellness, awareness, education. And today's topic is simple. It's not, there's no complicated things. There's really nothing too complicated, but that's pretty much it. It's only you today, so there's no other people asking questions. But I thank you for coming, and I'll see you next time.